there, welcome to the JeepSolid garage. In this video, we're going to be installing the clutch on my 94 Jeep Wrangler. I've got the flywheel here back from the machine shop, all nice and resurfaced. In previous videos, we removed the transmission and the clutch, all that. Those will be linked in the description below so you can catch up to where we're at right now. But let's get to putting this new clutch in. Woohoo! All right, first thing we're going to do is replace the pilot bearing. This is the clutch kit that has everything I need in it to replace the clutch on my Jeep. I'll be sure to include an Amazon link in the description below of this exact kit so you can find it there. Here's our new pilot bearing. You can see there's a little yellow O-ring on this pilot bearing, so we got to make sure we get that oriented the correct direction. This is the pilot bearing that I took out. Obviously this still has the racer on the outside of it, and this O-ring is on the outside right there, so I got to make sure I get this new pilot bearing in just like that. All right, we got the back side of the crank here, our new pilot bearing and racer installed. Goes in like this so that the O-ring is on the outside here to keep the needle bearings on the inside clean. Let's just tap that into place. Is that actually going to stay there? Nice. There we go, got a bigger driver on there. Just something to drive it in flat. Alrighty, now let's take a glob of bearing grease here. Get a nice little bit of this on the inside of that pilot bearing here. And now don't forget to put this little shield back on. Not that I would ever do something like that, but actually yes I have. Had to take a flywheel back off one time. When I got to looking at it, I was like, wait, it's missing something. What's it missing? I think, oh, that's right. That little cover. Here I've got my 6 flywheel bolts ready to go. I'm gonna pre-lube them with a little bit of Loctite, a little blue Loctite. I guess it's not lube, it's Loctite. Come on, I'm not out. There we go. And now we can very carefully lift our flywheel up into place. This is heavy. Be careful you don't drop it on yourself like I did. And now it only goes on. Oh, did I luck out? Oh, I totally lucked out. The holes are offset, so like it won't go like that. It'll only go on one direction, and I totally lucked out because first time I lifted it up there, it was in the right spot. Now we got a bolt in here. Now we're gonna torque all these down to 105 foot-pounds, and we're gonna kind of alternate sides, alternate it in like a star pattern as you're tightening it down, just so it torques down evenly. I've also got a screwdriver here. I'm gonna use this kind of on the stud over here on the side and grab one of those tooth on the flywheel because the flywheel is going to start spinning on me as I'm doing this. So we've got to hold it still. See how it moves like that? So if I grab that, get a screwdriver in here like that, I can hold it and torque. All right, flywheel looks really good. There's a little bit of gunk on it. We need it squeaky clean, so we got a little bit of brake clean here. Okay, we can install our clutch disc now. You can see how this side is wider than this side. This side is flatter. The flatter side goes against the flywheel like that. You can't install it like this. It just doesn't, it won't make contact like that. So obviously make sure you get your clutch disc oriented the correct way, and then we've got our installation tool here. This goes through our splines on our disc here, and the tip of it goes into the pilot bearing. It's just our alignment tool. Hold it in place there. All right, now here we got the pressure plate we can install. I just rinsed the surface that the clutch disc will hit. I washed that with some brake clean as well. Make sure it's not gotten any grease on it. And we'll lift this up into place. And the bolts for it, I have a little bit of blue Loctite on them as well. We'll get these in just finger tight. And then just like the flywheel, when we torque these down, we're gonna do it in a alternating star pattern. And you'll notice that with this pressure plate, as you're bolting it down, you'll feel it like starting to flex on there. So you'll tighten one side and it'll kind of rock one way or the other. So it's real important to alternate sides as you're tightening it down. And also, as I'm getting these last bolts in here, make sure that if your alignment tool gets off-centered at all, it'll pinch the disc underneath the pressure plate here. Make sure you have it right in the center, which mine looks pretty good. It's actually in there nice and secure. I'm gonna start just snugging this down a little bit. And now that they're kind of snug, we'll go around and torque them all to 40 foot-pounds. This is on the 6-cylinder. All right, all torqued down, we can remove our alignment tool. Back here onto the transmission. Obviously, I've got all that silicone cleaned off of here. A little towel in there so no silicone fell down into the inside of it. Let's get our old seal out. This is the seal that was leaking, or one of the ones I suspect was leaking. Got myself a brand new one here. See if this will come out. I don't have a true seal puller for this. See if we can get it out with some pliers and stuff. Now we're just gonna clean up the surface here, make sure there's no leftover debris. Just gonna take a little Scotch-Brite here, scrub it a little bit. Now I don't have a seal driver with an open end that is big enough. I don't have a socket big enough to put over that, so we're just gonna do the best we can. The lip of it, we need the lip facing in, so the seal is gonna go in this direction. Just gonna set it in place there. Oh, it fits pretty nice. Good little head start there. And now I'm gonna go around and just kind of gently tap it in as even as I can get it. That looks pretty darn good. Now let's replace the throwout bearing, and this one, I don't know if you guys can hear that. That one is just totally worn out. The new one here, just super smooth. So we're gonna take the whole shift fork assembly out, and there's a little spring right there. That's gonna pop off that little spot. This whole thing will take it out to replace this throwout bearing. Let me pull it forward here. There we go, and then that'll pop off back there. And now that we got this out, we'll get it all cleaned up. The throwout bearing, it just clips on with those little springs, little clips on the back side there. You're also gonna need a shift fork release spring, a little clip there. Be sure to order yourself a new one of those guys as well. And the kit comes with a little bit of spline grease. So let's get that on the splines here. Well, not very much though. We're also gonna get a little bit of grease on the shaft down here as well. I might get my other tub of grease, really grease it up good. Yeah, there's just not a lot in this kit. And we'll want to get some grease where this goes into the output shaft from the engine. And we'll get a little bit more on the splines here. Now the shift fork is all cleaned up nice. We'll slide this all back on here. Line up our little spring over here. And push this guy into place. Get on there. All right, that looks really good. So next we can reinstall it back into the Jeep, but I'm gonna have to save that for another day. I got some other stuff I gotta go work on. So this video series will be linked in the description below, the whole series, and the next video right up here should be installing this transmission. I'll link that later. And all these parts I'm using, they're in the description below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good day. Pretty terrible. Don't do that.